Is Russia relentless in its pursuit of power, undeterred by international backlash? A potent question indeed. We're exploring Russia's geopolitical ambitions today and their bold determination to use force, as clearly demonstrated by their annexation of Crimea and military intervention in Syria. So without further ado, let's delve into the heart of the matter. The year 2014 marked a significant shift in Russia's foreign policy with the annexation of Crimea. To understand this monumental event, we must first delve into the historical context. Crimea, a region on the Black Sea, was historically part of Russia until 1954, when it was transferred to Ukraine under the Soviet Union. Fast forward to 2014, and we find a Ukraine politically divided between the pro-European West and the pro-Russian East, with Crimea caught in the middle. Tensions escalated when Ukraine's pro-Russian president was ousted, and a pro-European government took office. Russia feared the loss of its influence over Ukraine and its strategic naval base in Crimea. In response, unmarked soldiers, later admitted by Putin to be Russian, seized key strategic locations in Crimea. A controversial referendum was held, and the majority of Crimean citizens, largely Russian-speaking, voted to join Russia. On March 18, 2014, Russia officially annexed Crimea, marking the first time since the Second World War that one European country had taken territory from another. The international community was quick to respond. The United Nations General Assembly passed a resolution declaring the referendum invalid. The European Union, United States, and other Western countries imposed economic sanctions on Russia, aiming to penalize it for its actions. These sanctions targeted Russian individuals, businesses, and sectors of the economy, particularly energy, banking, and defense. Despite the international outcry, Russia had set a precedent, signaling its readiness to defy global norms. This event marked a significant shift in the geopolitical landscape, with Russia willing to use force to achieve its objectives, and the world left grappling with this newfound assertiveness. Fast forward to 2015, Russia once again shocked the world, this time in the Middle East. In the midst of a devastating civil war, Syria emerged as the new arena for Russia's demonstration of power and influence. Russia's military intervention in Syria was a move that caught the world's attention. But what were their reasons? The official stance was to combat terrorism, specifically targeting the so-called Islamic State. However, political analysts argue that there were more strategic motivations at play. The intervention allowed Russia to reassert itself as a global power and maintain its only military base in the Middle East, the Tartus naval base. But what about the impact on the Syrian civil war? Russia's intervention undoubtedly tipped the scales in favor of the Syrian government. The extensive air campaign and ground support provided by Russia helped the government regain control over key territories, including Aleppo, which was a significant turning point in the war. This intervention wasn't just a game-changer in Syria, it also had a profound impact on international relations. Russia's assertive move raised many eyebrows and drew criticism from the international community. Western nations in particular expressed concerns over Russia's willingness to use force to achieve its geopolitical objectives. However, Russia's bold move also underscored a new reality, that it was willing and capable of projecting its military power beyond its immediate neighborhood. Russia's actions in Syria also have implications on its relationships with other nations. The intervention caused a rift with Turkey, a NATO member, and strained its relations with the United States. On the other hand, it strengthened Russia's ties with Iran, creating a new geopolitical axis in the Middle East. With its intervention in Syria, Russia reaffirmed its willingness to use force to protect its interests. The repercussions of these actions have been far-reaching. In the aftermath of Russia's annexation of Crimea and military intervention in Syria, the international relations landscape has experienced a seismic shift. Russia's willingness to use force to achieve its geopolitical objectives has not only drawn international criticism, but has also reshaped how nations interact on the global stage. For countries like Israel, traditionally neutral in the Russia-Ukraine conflict, this assertiveness has triggered a potential shift in policy. Former Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu, after returning to office, hinted at supporting Ukraine, a move that could be seen as a strategic response to Russia's reduced threat in Syria and a way to test defense systems against Iranian weapons. This shift in stance could also be seen as a move to improve relations with the United States after recent tensions with the new coalition government. The United States, under the leadership of President Joe Biden, is expected to take a tougher stance on human rights abuses and engage with democratic leaders, maintaining a pragmatic approach to working with autocratic regimes when necessary. This could mean a potential shift in US-Russia relations in the future, as Biden's administration navigates the dynamics of great power competition, particularly with Russia, China, and Iran. The assertiveness of Russia's actions has also resulted in a shift in Russia's global standing. The country, once seen as a strategic player in the global landscape, is now viewed with caution by many nations. This shift in perception has been influenced by Russia's willingness to challenge the status quo and use force to achieve its geopolitical objectives. However, these actions have not been without consequences for Russia itself. The country has faced international sanctions and criticism, which have had a significant impact on its economy and international relations. In the grand scheme of things, the actions taken by Russia under Putin's leadership have had far-reaching implications, not just for Russia and the countries directly involved, but for the entire international community. It has led to a reshuffling of alliances and relationships and a redefinition of power dynamics on the global stage. Russia's assertive actions have undoubtedly reshaped the geopolitical chessboard. What does this tell us about Russia's geopolitical objectives? It's clear from Russia's actions in Crimea and Syria that it seeks to re-establish itself as a formidable global power. The annexation of Crimea and military intervention in Syria are not isolated incidents, but rather strategic moves in a broader geopolitical game. By annexing Crimea, Russia not only expanded its territorial control, but also sent a powerful message to the world. It demonstrated its willingness to defy international norms and laws to achieve its objectives, a move that has undoubtedly sent shockwaves through the global community. Similarly, the military intervention in Syria has shown Russia's readiness to use force to influence regional dynamics. By supporting the Assad regime, Russia has been able to maintain its strategic foothold in the Middle East, while also demonstrating its capacity and willingness to shape the outcomes of conflicts beyond its borders. These actions have significant implications for international security and global politics. They challenge the post-Cold War order and raise questions about the effectiveness of international institutions in managing conflicts and upholding international laws. Moreover, they signal a shift in global power dynamics. Russia's assertiveness and willingness to use force could embolden other states to pursue their geopolitical objectives more aggressively, potentially leading to increased instability and conflict. They also have implications for US foreign policy. As we've seen with Israel's shifting stance, countries may find themselves needing to recalibrate their relationships and strategies in response to Russia's actions. This could lead to a more complex and unpredictable geopolitical landscape, requiring nuanced and strategic diplomacy. In conclusion, Russia's actions in Crimea and Syria are part of a larger strategy to reassert its power on the global stage. They speak volumes about Russia's geopolitical objectives and its willingness to push the boundaries of international norms to achieve them. Russia, it appears, is willing to go great lengths to assert its power. So, where does this leave us? We've traversed the rocky terrain of Russia's assertive geopolitical maneuvers. We've seen how the annexation of Crimea, a move that shattered the delicate balance of international norms, was a bold show of power. This action, while drawing severe criticism, was a clear indicator of Russia's willingness to challenge the status quo. Then we ventured into the tumultuous landscape of Syria, where Russia's military intervention added another layer of complexity to an already convoluted conflict. Russia's involvement in Syria was not just a strategic move, but also a demonstration of its military capabilities and its readiness to employ force to achieve its objectives. These actions have had far-reaching consequences. They've reshaped the geopolitical map, stirred tensions and raised concerns about future confrontations, but at the heart of it all, they've signaled Russia's assertiveness on the international stage. And what about the implications? They're as vast as the Siberian plains. From strained relationships with other nations to potential shifts in global power dynamics, the ripple effects of Russia's actions continue to be felt. But let's not forget about the motivations behind these moves. Russia's geopolitical objectives are a complex web of power, influence, and national interests. Its actions in Crimea and Syria are not isolated events, but rather they're part of a broader strategy aimed at asserting its position in the global pecking order. As we continue to monitor Russia's actions on the global stage, one thing is clear: the bear has shown its claws and it is not afraid to use them.